Captain Alan White stood at the viewport of the Earth defense ship Horizon and watched the massive Galactic Council station grow larger against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. After decades of searching the skies for signs of intelligent life, humanity had finally received an answer 3 years ago. Now, in 2087, he led the first official diplomatic mission to meet with the council that governed 17 advanced alien species across the Milky Way. "Nervous, Captain?" asked Dr. Susan Miller as she joined him at the viewport. Her expertise in alien languages had made her essential to this mission. "Not nervous," Alan replied. "Just aware of what's at stake." He straightened his uniform jacket. The safety and future of Earth depended on these negotiations. Security Chief Greg Jones approached them, his broad shoulders tense. "Final security checks complete, sir. The shuttle is ready whenever you are." Alan nodded. "Let's not keep our new galactic neighbors waiting." The shuttle journey to the station was silent, each human lost in their thoughts. When the airlock opened, they were greeted by 2 alien species. The Zilarians stood nearly 7 feet tall, with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms. They moved with a grace that suggested aristocratic breeding. Beside them were the Volturi, shorter beings with gray skin who seemed to move and blink in perfect unison. "Welcome, humans of Earth," said the lead Zilarian in perfect English. "I am High Counselor Vex. We have been monitoring your progress for some time and believe you may be ready to join our community of worlds." Alan stepped forward. "We're honored to be considered. I'm Captain Alan White, representing the United Earth Government." The Grand Council chamber contained representatives from all 17 species. Some looked almost human, while others defied easy description. Alan noticed Susan's eyes widening as she took in the diversity of life forms. "High Counselor Vex addressed the chamber. For millennia, we have maintained peace in this galaxy through shared principles and mutual respect. Today, we consider adding the 18th species to our council." A holographic display activated, showing Earth from orbit. "Humans have shown remarkable adaptability and technological progress," Vex continued. "However, their history contains concerning levels of conflict." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Alan had been prepared for this. "If I may address this concern," he said, stepping forward. "Humanity has indeed known war, but we have also known peace. Each conflict taught us the value of cooperation. Our diversity once divided us, but now strengthens us. We don't claim perfection, only progress." The Volturi representative spoke next, its voice eerily similar to Vex's despite their different physical structures. "All species evolve from conflict. What matters are the principles that guide you now," Vex nodded. "Indeed, let us discuss our most sacred principle." He gestured, and the hologram changed to show alien children of various species. "The young of sentient species are inviolate. This rule above all others is absolute." Greg leaned closer to Alan. "They're big on protecting kids. That's something we can get behind." Vex continued, "After the Great Ruin nearly destroyed our ancestors 50,000 years ago, this principle was established. No child of any species shall be harmed, exploited, or involved in conflicts between worlds. This law is the foundation of galactic peace." Susan whispered to Alan, "Something feels off about how they're presenting this. The words sound sincere, but their body language suggests it's become more ceremonial than practical." Alan nodded slightly but focused on the immediate diplomatic opportunity. Earth needed allies and access to advanced technology. If their most important rule was protecting children, that aligned perfectly with human values. "High Counselor," Alan said, "humanity has always placed special importance on protecting our young. It's instinctual to us, encoded in our biology, and reinforced in our cultures. On this principle you'll find no disagreement." Vex seemed pleased. "Excellent. Now let us discuss the terms of Earth's probationary membership." The negotiations continued for hours. Earth would receive access to faster-than-light travel technology, advanced medical knowledge, and trade rights. In exchange, humanity would limit its military expansion, share its unique cultural and scientific developments, and adhere to all Council regulations. When the formal Treaty of Seoul was presented for signing, Alan carefully reviewed the section on child protection. It was indeed comprehensive, forbidding any harm to children in interspecies conflicts and establishing severe penalties for violations. You understand that breaking this rule would mean immediate sanctions against Earth, Vex said as Alan prepared. To sign, of course, Alan replied. But as I said, protecting children is fundamental to human nature. This rule will be the easiest for us to follow. A smaller Zilarian whispered something to Vex, who nodded dismissively. Some of my colleagues find your species' emotional attachment to offspring excessive, but we acknowledge it as a phase in evolutionary development. Alan paused, pen hovering over the document. Excessive? I'm not sure I understand. Many advanced species evolve beyond such primitive instincts, Vex explained with a hint of condescension. The rule exists more as a civilized agreement than a biological imperative for most council members. Greg tensed beside Alan, but Susan placed a calming hand on his arm. Alan kept his diplomatic smile in place, though his eyes had cooled. Perhaps our primitive instincts serve a purpose, he said evenly. We found that societies that protect their children tend to protect their future as well. Vex gave a gesture that might have been the Zilarian equivalent of a shrug. Interesting perspective. Shall we proceed with the signing? Alan signed the treaty, officially making Earth a probationary member of the Galactic Council. As cameras recorded the historic moment, he couldn't help but wonder about the Council's true commitment to their supposedly sacred rule. Later, as the Earth delegation prepared to return to their ship, Susan approached Alan in a quiet corridor. Did you notice how they talked about the child protection rule? They recite it like a prayer, but react to it like an outdated tradition. Alan nodded slowly. I noticed. But we need this alliance, and regardless of how they feel about it, the rule is still encoded in council law. That's what matters. I hope you're right, Susan said. But I can't shake the feeling that they've forgotten the meaning behind their words, while for us, it's still very real. Let's hope we never have to find out, Alan replied, watching as a group of Zilarian officials passed by, barely acknowledging the humans. For now, we focus on bringing Earth into the galactic community. We have a lot to learn and technology to integrate. As they boarded the shuttle back to the horizon, Greg looked troubled. Sir, what if Dr. Miller is right? What if they don't take their own rules as seriously as we do? Alan gazed out at the vast council station, already thinking about humanity's future among the stars. Then we'll remind them if necessary. But that's a problem for another day. The shuttle detached and turned toward the horizon. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its ancient deliberations, unaware that they had just welcomed a species that would one day force them to remember the true meaning of their most sacred rule. 50 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council, and humanity spread throughout the solar system and beyond. The technology gained from alien allies allowed humans to establish colonies on Mars, Europa, and several planets orbiting nearby stars. Proxima Colony, orbiting the closest star to Earth's sun, became a symbol of human expansion and adaptability. Ben Carter checked the environmental readings on his tablet as he walked through Proxima Colony's main habitat dome. The artificial atmosphere was stable, and the farm sections reported excellent yields. As the colony's agricultural supervisor, he took pride in the lush green spaces that made this distant outpost feel like home. "Dad, watch this!" shouted 7-year-old Kevin from the play area at the center of the biodome park. He and his twin sister Karen were playing on structures designed to help children born on the colony adapt to different gravity conditions. Ben smiled and waved at his son, who was attempting to climb a wall designed for strength training. Karen, always the more cautious twin, was watching her brother from a safer position on the ground. "Don't go too high," Ben called out. "Your mom will be here soon, and then we'll go home for dinner." Laura Carter worked in the colony's communications center, coordinating transmissions between Proxima and the dozen other human settlements now established among the stars. The 50 years since first contact had been good for humanity. Despite initial concerns, membership in the Galactic Council had brought prosperity and technological advancement. Ben checked his watch. Lavra was running late, which was unusual. He decided to let the twins play a bit longer while he reviewed tomorrow's work schedule. He didn't notice the small ship that silently appeared at the edge of the colony's detection range. The vessel's stealth technology was far beyond human capabilities, making it nearly invisible to Proxima's security systems. It approached slowly, its sensors focused on the biodome park. Inside the ship, Chief Scientist Kraz of the Zektal species observed the human children through advanced monitoring equipment. The Zektal were one of the minor races within the Galactic Council, known for their expertise in biological sciences. What wasn't widely known was their desperate need to enhance their declining genetic pool. "Those two appear to be ideal specimens," Kraz said to his research team, pointing at the Carter twins. "Genetically identical, but with the gender differentiation that makes humans so adaptable. Their ability to thrive in various planetary environments is exactly what our species needs." His assistant adjusted their ship's position. "The Council forbids interference with children of any species." Kraz made a dismissive gesture with one of his four limbs. "The Council has many rules that exist only in theory." When was the last time they actually enforced the Child Protection Clause? Besides, we're not harming them, we're studying them. For the survival of our species? He gave the signal, and the ship descended toward the park, its cloaking field still active. Peter Wilson, a security officer making his rounds near the biodome, was the first to notice something wrong. A shimmer in the air above the park caught his attention, like heat waves where there shouldn't be any. His years of training kicked in, and he immediately activated his CUM unit. "Security alert, Section 5, Biodome Park," he reported. "Possible cloaked vessel." Before backup could respond, a beam of light shot down from the shimmer, creating a circular field around the playground. Children inside the field froze in place, suspended in stasis. "No!" Wilson shouted, drawing his sidearm and running toward the park. "Colony security, deactivate your field immediately." The Zektal ship became partially visible as it extended collection tubes toward the frozen children. Wilson fired his weapon at the ship, but the energy blast dissipated harmlessly against its advanced shields. Ben Carter looked up from his tablet at the commotion and saw the nightmare unfolding. "Kevin, Karen!" he screamed, dropping everything and sprinting toward his children. Other parents were doing the same, their faces twisted with horror and desperation. Wilson kept firing, trying to hit any vulnerable point on the alien vessel. "All units, hostile abduction in progress at the biodome." Children being taken. The Zektal worked quickly, selecting 17 children from the play area, including both Carter twins. The collection tubes retracted, pulling the chosen children up into the ship while leaving the others still frozen in the stasis field. Ben reached the edge of the field, but couldn't penetrate it. He pounded against the invisible barrier, watching helplessly as his children were lifted away. "Stop, please!" he shouted, tears streaming down his face. "They're just kids." The ship's engines flared as it prepared to leave. Wilson, realizing he couldn't stop the abduction, focused instead on gathering information. He activated his visual recorder, capturing clear images of the vessel and its markings. It was definitely Zektal in design. He recognized it from Council security briefings. With a sudden surge of power, the ship shot upward, breaking through the biodome's upper atmosphere shield and causing a momentary pressure drop that knocked several people to the ground. The stasis field disappeared, leaving behind confused and terrified children and their equally terrified parents. Colony. Alarms blared as emergency response teams rushed to the scene. The biodome's breach sealed automatically, but the damage was done. 17 children had been taken. Lavra Carter arrived minutes later, having heard the alarms from the communications center. When Ben told her what happened, she collapsed into his arms, both of them overcome with grief and shock. Wilson approached them, his face grim. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter, I've already sent a priority alert to Earth and the Galactic Council." I identified the ship as Zektal. They're a Council member species. This is a clear violation of the primary treaty protection for children. Why would they take our kids? Lavra asked through her tears. What do they want with them? The Zectal are bioresearchers, Wilson explained. But this goes beyond illegal research. This is a direct violation of the most sacred council law. They'll face immediate sanctions for this. Hours passed as the colony's leadership organized their response. Earth dispatched military vessels, but they would take days to arrive even with the fastest drives. The Zectal ship had vanished into hyperspace. Leaving no trail to follow, the response from the Galactic Council came 12 hours after the abduction. Wilson, Ben, and Lavar watched as the message played in the colony's communication center. High Counselor Trev, a Zilarian who had replaced Vex years ago, appeared on the screen. We express deep concern regarding the alleged incident at Proxima Colony. If Zectal involvement is confirmed, we will open diplomatic channels to address this serious matter. Ben stared at the screen in disbelief. Diplomatic channels? They took our children. We must caution against any unilateral military response, the High Counselor continued. Such actions could jeopardize Earth's standing in the Council. A proper investigation will be conducted, which may take several standard months to complete. Wilson shut off the message, his face hard with anger. They're not going to do anything. Not in any time frame that matters. But the treaty, Lavra said. The rule about children being inviolate. It's their most sacred law. Sacred on paper, maybe, Wilson replied bitterly. But the council representative just called it a serious matter, not an atrocity, not an act of war. A matter to be handled through diplomatic channels. Ben stood up, his grief hardening into resolve. He went to the communication terminal and typed a message to be sent to Earth's defense forces. It was simple, just one sentence. They took our children. The council won't help. Remember who we are. As the message transmitted across the light years toward Earth, Ben turned to Wilson. The council might have forgotten what that rule means, but we haven't. And they're about to learn why humans take it so seriously. Admiral Jane Foster stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters and read the message from Proxima Colony for the 5th time. Her face grew harder with each reading. 29 years in military service had taught her to control her emotions, but this situation tested that control. She looked up at the gathered officers and government officials who had been summoned for an emergency meeting. They took our children, she said, her voice steady but filled with cold anger. 17 kids, including 7-year-old twins. The Galactic Council's response was to suggest diplomatic talks that could take months. Defense Minister William Clark shook his head in disbelief. This is a direct violation of the primary treaty protection, the Council's most sacred rule. Sacred. To us, perhaps, Jane replied. But it seems the Council has forgotten what that rule means. They treat it as a formality, a tradition to be referenced but not enforced. We haven't forgotten. She pressed a button, and a holographic display activated, showing the faces of the 17 abducted children. And we won't wait months while our kids are in the hands of alien scientists. What are you proposing, Admiral? Asked President Diane Powell, who had joined the meeting remotely from the White House. Jane straightened her uniform. Operation Child's Return? A full military response targeting the Zectal and applying pressure on the Council to enforce their own laws. That could jeopardize our standing with the Council, cautioned a diplomatic advisor. Jane's eyes flashed. If protecting our children costs us our membership, then the Council isn't worth belonging to. President Powell was silent for a moment, then nodded. I agree. What resources do you need, Admiral? Everything we have, Jane answered without hesitation. Every available military vessel. I'm also calling up retired personnel who volunteer, and converting civilian ships for support operations. We can be ready in 72 hours. The defense minister looked concerned. That would leave Earth with minimal defenses. If we don't respond to this with everything we have, what are we? Defending? Jane countered. Throughout human history, across all cultures and times, one principle has remained constant. We protect our children at all costs. The president's image leaned forward. You have my full authorization, Admiral Foster. Bring those kids home. Jane wasted no time. Within hours, the call went out across Earth and all human colonies. The response was overwhelming. Ships still in testing phases were rushed into service. Retired military personnel reported for duty in numbers that overwhelmed processing centers. Civilian ship captains volunteered their vessels and crews. Engineers worked around the clock to prepare the fleet. By the second day, Jane had organized the massive force into 3 task forces. She addressed the fleet commanders in the war room. Team Alpha, led by Commander Sam Wells, will track the Zektal ship using the data from Proxima Colony. Their mission is to locate the abducted children. Sam Wells, a veteran of Deep Space Patrol, nodded grimly. We've already identified potential routes based on Zektal hyperspace patterns. We'll find them. Jane continued. Team Beta, under Captain Lisa Howard, will establish a blockade at key Zektal worlds and facilities. We'll apply maximum pressure until they understand we're serious. Lisa Howard's face appeared on a comm screen from her ship already in orbit. My fleet will be in position at the first Zektal world in 20 hours, Admiral. And Team Gamma, which I will command personally, will present humanity's ultimatum to the Galactic Council. Jane finished. They need to understand that this isn't negotiable. Meanwhile, specialized rescue teams were formed, composed of former Special Forces operators. They trained intensively in the Special Operations Center beneath the Pacific Ocean. Ryan Cooper, a quiet but lethal former Marine, led one of these teams. His own daughter had died years earlier in an accident on Mars, and something in him had broken that day. Now he found purpose again. They think we're just another species, he told his team as they prepared. They don't understand what they've awakened. His team members nodded in understanding. Every human knew the depth of this violation, felt it on a primal level that transcended rational thought. In space, the largest fleet in human history assembled. Ships of all sizes and classes formed a massive armada that stretched for miles. Many were hastily armed or converted from civilian use, but what they lacked in military precision they made up for in numbers and determination. Admiral Foster boarded her flagship, the EDS Retribution, and addressed the combined fleet. Her message was broadcast to every ship and every human settlement across the stars. Today we remind the galaxy of a fundamental truth they seem to have forgotten. The children of all species are sacred and inviolate. This isn't just a rule written in a treaty for us, it's who we are at our core. The Council has forgotten what that rule means, but we haven't. Her words resonated through the fleet, strengthening resolve and purpose. We go with 3 simple objectives. Find our children, bring them home, make sure this never happens again. The fleet split into its assigned task forces and departed. Earth orbit in a display of unified purpose that had never before been seen in human history. News of the massive mobilization spread quickly through Council space. On the Galactic Council station, representatives gathered in emergency session as reports came in of the human fleet's movements. High Counselor Trev watched with growing concern as intelligence images showed the scale of Earth's response. This seems quite excessive, he commented to his advisors. They've mobilized their entire military for 17 children? A Volturi representative shifted uncomfortably. We may have miscalculated the human attachment to their offspring. It appears to go beyond normal species preservation instinct. Clearly, Trev agreed, watching as more images showed human ships entering Zektal space. But this level of response is unprecedented and dangerous. They risk destabilizing relations with all Council species. On the Zektal homeworld, leaders received word of the human fleet approaching their territory. Chief Minister Vrek summoned his military advisors. How many ships are we facing? Hundreds, sir, replied his security chief. They've deployed more vessels than we thought humans possessed. And they're blockading our trade routes and colonies? Vrek's multiple eyes blinked rapidly in distress. All this for a handful of test subjects? Have they lost their minds? Sir, the humans are demanding the immediate return of their children and are threatening direct military action against our homeworld if we refuse. Vrek hesitated. The research from the human children could save his species from genetic decline, but facing the wrath of Earth's entire military was not something he had anticipated. Contact Chief Scientist Kraz, tell him to accelerate the research but prepare to terminate if necessary, and send a message to the Council requesting intervention. Back on the EDS Retribution, Admiral Foster received word from Commander Wells. Admiral, we've tracked the Zectile research vessel to a hidden facility on an unnamed moon in the Proxima Centauri system. It's heavily shielded and defended. Can you confirm our children are there? Jane asked. Thermal and biometric scans match human life signs of the appropriate age and size. It's them, but Admiral, there's more. We're detecting multiple species of juveniles in that facility. This isn't the first time the Zectile have done this. Jane's expression hardened further. Deploy Cooper's rescue team immediately. And inform Team Beta to increase pressure on the Zectile homeworld. It's time they learned exactly how seriously we take this rule they've forgotten. As Ryan Cooper and his team prepared for deployment, news arrived that the Galactic Council had issued a formal request for humans to stand down and allow diplomatic processes to work. Jane's response was brief. We'll stand down when our children are safe, not one moment before. The rescue mission was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn why humans had embraced the Council's most sacred rule so completely. It wasn't just words in a treaty for them. It was the very essence of their humanity. Ryan Cooper checked his tactical gear one last time as the stealth shuttle approached the hidden Zectile research facility. The small moon had no atmosphere, its cratered surface illuminated only by the distant light of Proxima Centauri. The facility was built into the side of a massive crater, with only sensor arrays visible above the surface. His team of 12 former Special Forces operators sat silently around him, each focused on their own preparations. They all wore the newest stealth armor developed by Earth's military, designed to mask both visual and heat signatures. 2 minutes. To drop zone, announced the shuttle pilot. No sign they've detected us yet. Ryan stood and addressed his team. Remember, primary objective is recovery of all human children. Secondary objective is gathering evidence of Zectile violations. Rules of engagement are clear, lethal force authorized only if necessary to protect the children or yourselves. He paused, then added what they all knew in their hearts. We're not leaving any kids behind, not ours, not anyone's. The team nodded in silent agreement. They had all seen the intelligence reports. The facility contained not just the 17 recently abducted human children, but also younglings from at least 4 other species. The Zectile had been violating the sacred rule for decades while the Council turned a blind eye. The shuttle touched down silently half a mile from the facility. Ryan's team deployed in perfect formation, using the moon's low gravity to make swift, bounding movements across the surface while remaining undetected. They reached the outer perimeter within minutes. Security systems identified, whispered Liz Harper, their tech specialist, as she scanned the entrance. Standard Zectile protocols. I can bypass them, but we'll only have about 3 minutes before their systems detect the intrusion. Ryan nodded. That's all we need. Team 1 with me through the main entrance. Team 2, secure the emergency exit. On the east side, move on my mark. Harper connected her equipment to the facility's external access panel and worked quickly. Ready in 3, 2, 1? We're in. The doors slid open silently, and Ryan led the first team inside. The interior was brightly lit, with polished metal corridors leading deeper into the moon. They moved swiftly, neutralizing 2 Zectile guards with stun weapons before they could raise an alarm. Life signs detected 2 levels down, reported Carl Fisher, checking his scanner. Multiple small signatures consistent with children. They found the first security station unmanned. Harper accessed its systems. I've got facility schematics. Research labs are in the central chamber. Holding cells for subjects are adjacent. As they descended deeper into the facility, alarms suddenly blared. They've detected us, Ryan said. Calmly, proceed as planned. Speed is now priority. They encountered resistance on the lower level, 4 Zectile security personnel armed with energy weapons. The humans' superior training and determination made the skirmish brief and decisive. Within seconds, all 4 guards were incapacitated without a shot fired, Ryan's team reached the central research section and found themselves facing a sealed blast door. "This will take time to crack," Harper warned, examining the heavy security. "Measures, we don't have time," Ryan replied. He turned to Fisher, who carried their heavy equipment. "Breach charge." Fisher placed a small device on the door seal. The team took cover around the corner. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The controlled explosion blew the door inward with a muffled thump. Ryan was first through the smoke, weapon raised. Inside was a large laboratory filled with complex equipment. Several Zectal scientists stood frozen in shock. Chief Scientist Kraz recovered first. "This is a violation of council law. You have no authority here." Ryan ignored him, scanning the room until he spotted what they were looking for: a row of stasis chambers along the far wall. Inside each transparent container floated a child, suspended in a clear liquid. He recognized the Carter twins from their files, their small faces peaceful in forced sleep. "Secure the scientists," Ryan ordered, moving immediately to the stasis chambers. "Harper, how do we get them out safely?" Harper examined the control panel. "These are medical stasis fields. There's a proper shutdown sequence?" While half the team covered the scientists, the others began the process of safely extracting the children. Ryan found himself standing before the chamber containing Kevin Carter. The boy's face reminded him so much of his own daughter that his hands trembled slightly as he waited for Harper to deactivate the stasis field. "The research is vital to our species' survival," Kraz protested as he was restrained. "We're facing genetic collapse. The adaptability of human children could save U.S." Ryan turned to him, his voice deadly quiet. "Then you should have asked for help. We might have given it freely. Instead, you stole our children." The stasis chambers began to power down one by one. As the fluid drained, the human children started to wake, confused and frightened. Ryan gently lifted Kevin from his chamber, wrapping him in a thermal blanket. "It's okay," he said softly. "We're from Earth. We're taking you home." The boy looked up with wide, terrified eyes. "Where's Karen?" "My sister? She's right here," Ryan assured him, nodding to where another team member was helping Karen from her chamber. "You're both safe now." As they worked to recover all 17 human children, Ryan noticed the other stasis chambers beyond them. These contained young aliens of various species. Some he recognized from council records, others he'd never seen before. "Sir," called Fisher, examining computer records. "According to this, some of these children have been here for years. There are younglings from the Brill, Nothter, Krelin, and even a Volturi child." Ryan looked at the alien children floating in stasis, then back at his team members who were waiting for his orders. The mission parameters were clear: recover the human children and gather evidence. But Ryan Cooper had not become a Marine to follow orders blindly. He had become a Marine to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Get them all out," he ordered. "Every child leaves with us." "Sir," Harper said hesitantly, "that wasn't the mission. Some of these species might be hostile to humans. And we don't know their medical needs?" Ryan's face was set with determination. "The mission is to uphold the rule that the Council forgot. The young of all sentient species are inviolate." "That means all of them." He turned to the communications specialist. "Contact Commander Wells. Tell him we need medical support for multiple species and additional transport." As the team worked to safely extract all the children, alarms indicated approaching Zectal reinforcements. "Commander Wells." Voice came through Ryan's unit. "Cooper, we've got multiple hostiles inbound to your location. At least 3 Zectal military vessels." "Understood," Ryan replied. "We need more time. These kids can't be moved quickly." He turned to half his team. "Secure our exit route. We'll hold here until all children are stable for transport." Outside the facility, Team Alpha engaged the Zectal reinforcements in battle. Human ships, though outnumbered, fought with such determination and tactical precision that the Zectal were caught off guard. Inside, Ryan supervised as the last of the children were carefully removed from stasis. The human kids were already being moved toward the extraction point while his team worked to stabilize the alien younglings. many of whom were in delicate health after long periods in stasis. "They're breaking through the upper level," reported Fisher from his position at the doorway. "We have maybe 10 minutes." Ryan nodded grimly. "That's all we need." He turned to the captive Zektal scientists. "You're coming with us. The galaxy needs to see what you've done here." As they prepared for extraction, a message came through from Commander Wells. "Cooper, the Zektal commander, is requesting to speak with whoever's in charge down there." Ryan took the unit. "This is Cooper." The Zektal commander's voice was harsh. "Human, you are violating sovereign territory. Return our research subjects immediately or face complete destruction." Ryan's reply was calm but firm. "They're not research subjects, they're children, and they're under humanity's protection now." "You're outnumbered and outgunned," the Zektal commander threatened. "You cannot escape." Ryan looked around at the children being carefully tended by his team, human and alien alike. "We're not asking for permission. We're telling you how things will be from now on." Outside, the battle continued. But something unexpected happened. The Zektal forces, faced with the relentless determination of the human ships, began to hesitate. Their commander, monitoring the situation from his vessel, was struck by a realization. These humans were willing to die, every last one of them, rather than abandon the children. It was a level of commitment his species could barely comprehend. After a brief but intense exchange of fire, the Zektal commander made an unprecedented decision. He ordered his forces to stand down. As the rescue ships departed with all the children safely aboard, Ryan Cooper sent one final transmission to every ship in the area and to the Galactic Council itself. Attached were detailed records of the Zektal's long-term violations of the child protection rule, evidence that would shake the Council to its foundations. The message was simple. The children of all species are under humanity's protection now. This is not negotiable. Admiral Jane Foster stood on the bridge of the EDS Retribution as it approached the massive Galactic Council station. Behind her ship came 20 more vessels of the Earth Defense Fleet, forming an honor guard that was also clearly a show of force. The rest of humanity's armada maintained positions throughout Council space, with Team Beta still blockading key Zektal worlds and Team Alpha escorting the rescued children to safety. "The Council is demanding we stand down and reduce our fleet presence," reported her communications officer. "They're calling for immediate diplomatic talks." Jane's expression remained stern. "Tell them I'll be happy to talk. In person, in their chambers, with my security detail." The response came quickly. "They refuse to allow armed humans into the Council chamber. They cite protocol," Jane almost smiled. "Tell them I refuse to recognize any protocol that failed to protect children. They can meet me with my security detail, or they can watch human ships enforce the child protection rule across their territory. Their choice." 30 minutes later, Jane stepped onto the Council station, flanked by 6 Marines in full combat gear. The Council representatives had clearly been arguing among themselves. Many looked flustered and angry. As she entered the Grand Chamber, High Counselor Trev stood at the center, his usual aristocratic calm notably absent. "Admiral Foster," he began, "your actions constitute a grave breach of Council authority. You have conducted military operations in sovereign Zektal territory, abducted their citizens, and maintained an armed blockade of their worlds. These are acts of war." Jane stepped forward, unintimidated. "You forgot what that rule meant," she said clearly, her voice echoing through the chamber. "It became words on a treaty for you. For us, it's the foundation of who we are." She activated a holographic project she had brought with her. It displayed images from the Zektal research facility, children of various species floating in stasis chambers, laboratory equipment designed to extract genetic material, records of experiments conducted over decades. "These aren't acts of war," Jane continued. "This is justice. The Zektal abducted children from multiple species and experimented on them. That violates your most sacred law, the one rule you claimed was absolute. The young of sentient species are inviolate." Murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives viewed the evidence. Some seemed genuinely shocked, while others looked uncomfortable, as if caught in a lie. We have documented evidence of 27 other cases where council members failed to act when children of various species were endangered, Jane added, advancing the display to show more records. This wasn't a single incident. It was systematic negligence of your own fundamental principle. A representative from a smaller council species, the Nathter, rose from his seat. "One of those children is from my world," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "A child reported missing 3 years ago. We were told there was insufficient evidence to investigate." Other representatives began to speak up, confirming similar experiences. The council chamber erupted in chaotic debate. High Councillor Trev attempted to restore order, but the momentum had shifted. "This is unfortunate," Trev acknowledged, raising his voice above the din. "But it does not justify Earth's unilateral military action. There are proper channels." "Proper channels?" Jane interrupted, her voice cold with controlled fury. "While children suffered? How long would your proper channels have taken? Months? Years? The evidence shows you've been ignoring these violations for decades." "You risk your standing with this council, Admiral," Trev warned. "Earth is still a probationary member. Your actions could result in sanctions or expulsion." Jane stood straight, unwavering. "We're not asking for permission to protect the children of this galaxy. We're telling you how things will be from now on. If the cost of membership is abandoning children to suffering, then your council isn't worth belonging to." A Volturi representative stepped forward. "The human speaks with unusual emotion, but there is logic in her position. Our founding principle has been neglected. This is ... shameful." The debate continued for hours. The council initially threatened sanctions against Earth, but their position weakened when several species, impressed by humanity's actions, pledged their support. The revelation that children from multiple worlds had been rescued further swayed opinion. Eventually, Trev called for a recess. When the session resumed the next day, his tone had changed. "After consultation with member species, the Council proposes the formation of a new enforcement protocol for our child protection principle. Joint teams, including human representatives, will be established to respond rapidly to any future violations." Jane listened carefully to the proposal. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. "Earth will participate on one condition," the Zektal leadership must face justice for their crimes against children. 3 days of intense negotiations followed. Jane refused to recall the human fleet until concrete agreements were reached. Finally, the Council ratified what became known as the Earth Accord, establishing new protections for children throughout Council space and creating rapid response teams with human leadership. The Zektal government, facing both internal pressure and the combined outrage of the Council, surrendered their leadership for trial. Chief Scientist Kraz and his team faced the most serious charges, while those who had ordered or permitted the research program were removed from power. As the diplomatic work concluded, the rescued children were returned to their homeworlds. Human medical teams worked tirelessly to ensure the alien younglings were healthy before sending them home. On worlds across the galaxy, humans were welcomed as heroes by grateful families reunited with children they had thought lost forever. On Proxima Colony, Ben and Lavra Carter waited anxiously at the landing pad as the transport carrying the rescued human children touched down. When the hatch opened and the children began to emerge, they pushed forward desperately, searching for familiar faces. Kevin spotted them first. "Mom! Dad!" he shouted, breaking free from his escort and running toward them. Karen followed close. Behind, her small face lighting up with joy, the family collided in a tearful embrace, holding each other so tightly it seemed they might never let go. Other families around them experienced the same joyful reunions, the air filled with crying and laughter. Ryan Cooper stood at a distance, watching the scene with quiet satisfaction. Admiral Foster approached and stood beside him. "Good work, Cooper," she said simply. Ryan nodded. "The alien children? All safely returned?" "All of them," Jane confirmed. "And the Council will never be the same." "They're actually taking the rule seriously now? Creating dedicated enforcement teams, updating their charter. Will it last?" Ryan asked. Jane watched as Ben Carter knelt and spoke softly to his children, his hands gentle on their shoulders. "It will. We'll make sure of it." 7-year-old Karen looked up at her father. "Why did the aliens take us, Dad?" Ben considered his answer carefully. "They forgot something important," he explained gently, "but we helped them remember." In the weeks that followed, Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council evolved. No longer seen as just a developing world, humanity took on a new role as the conscience of the galaxy, the species that remembered what truly mattered. The Earth Defense Force unveiled a new insignia. Earth's traditional olive branches surrounding a small hand being protected by a larger one. Below it, words that now defined humanity's role in the galaxy: never forgotten, never again. Admiral Foster, preparing to lead the first Joint Council Human Rapid Response Team, reflected on the change they had brought to the galaxy. The Council had created the rule about protecting children millennia ago, but over time it had become mere words. Humanity had reminded them why the rule existed in the first place, not as a political convenience or a diplomatic tradition, but as a fundamental truth about what made civilization worth defending. On distant worlds across the galaxy, children looked up at the stars with a new sense of security, knowing that somewhere out there, a species called humans stood ready to protect them. A species that remembered what others had forgotten, that the future itself rests in the hands of children, and there is no more sacred duty than keeping them safe.